Before he became the face of a global revolution, before his name echoed in the halls of justice and history books, Nelson Mandela was simply a young man with a growing fire in his heart. He had walked the path of a student, the path of a lawyer, and now he stood on the edge of something far greater. This is the story of how Mandela transformed pain into purpose, of how a man of law became a man of resistance. It's not just a biography, it's a blueprint, a guide to what happens when discipline meets injustice and silence is no longer an option. If you've ever wondered when the quiet student becomes the roaring leader, you're about to find out. Mandela's early days as a lawyer were filled with hope and idealism, but the streets of Johannesburg taught him the harshest realities. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, the city was a vibrant yet divided place. Gleaming buildings and busy streets existed alongside the shadow of crushing poverty in the townships. Mandela, a young black attorney, partnered with his friend Oliver Tambo to open South Africa's very first black law firm. They didn't wear expensive suits or have marble floors. Their office was small and modest, with old wooden furniture and a constant stream of clients seeking help. But what they lacked in resources, they made up for in courage. Every case they took, every client they defended, was a silent act of rebellion. Eviction notices, unlawful arrests, beatings by police. For the poor and oppressed, Mandela and Tambo wasn't just a law firm. It was a lifeline. It was hope in a hopeless system. And through this work, Mandela began to see the cruelty of apartheid, not in newspapers or political debates, but in the tired eyes of mothers holding eviction papers, in the broken hands of laborers beaten for speaking up, and in the silence of children too young to understand why they had less, but old enough to feel the weight of injustice. He had studied the law to change it. Soon he realized something painful. The law was not designed to be changed. It was a weapon, not a shield. Courtrooms were not neutral. Judges were not just. Truth was not enough. Mandela's frustration grew. He was no longer satisfied with helping one family at a time. The system was too big, too deep, too cruel, and that's when something shifted inside him. He saw that legal arguments could not move the immovable, but organized resistance could. In 1944, alongside Walter Sisulu, Oliver Tambo, and Anton Lembede, Mandela helped form the African National Congress Youth League. Their vision was bold. The older generation of the ANC believed in petitions, polite letters, and quiet diplomacy. The Youth League wanted something different. Action. They called for mass mobilization, boycotts, and civil disobedience. This was Mandela's first real leap from lawyer to leader. No longer was he standing in court waiting for justice to be granted. He was in the streets, demanding it. One of the Youth League's first major campaigns was the Defiance Campaign of 1952. Inspired by Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance, volunteers deliberately broke apartheid laws, walking through whites-only entrances, sitting on segregated benches, refusing to carry passbooks. They knew they would be arrested. They knew the risk. But the message was clear. If the law is unjust, to obey it is the real crime. Over 8,000 people were arrested in just a few months. Mandela, as the national volunteer-in-chief, became a central figure in the movement. His leadership caught the attention of the apartheid government. He was arrested, banned from public gatherings, and labeled a dangerous agitator. But instead of silencing him, these punishments only strengthened his resolve. Mandela began to understand the true cost of leadership. It wasn't about speeches or applause, it was about responsibility. He had to remain calm when others panicked, focused when others wavered, and steady when anger threatened to consume the movement. As the resistance grew, so did the risks. In 1955, Mandela played a key role in drafting the Freedom Charter, a bold vision for a democratic South Africa where all races would share equal rights. It declared that the land belonged to everyone, that all people had the right to work, to learn, to speak, and to vote. It was a direct challenge to the very core of apartheid. The government struck back hard, homes were raided, documents were burned, and in 1956, Mandela and 155 other leaders were arrested in what became known as the treason trial. The trial dragged on for 5 years. 5 long years of Mandela walking into court, accused of trying to overthrow the government. 5 years of uncertainty, knowing that a guilty verdict could mean the hangman's noose. Yet Mandela emerged stronger. He learned patience, discipline, and the art of turning a courtroom into a stage for truth. At times, he wore his traditional Xhosa attire to remind the court and the world of his identity and his roots. He refused to be broken. But the fight was not without personal cost. Mandela's marriage to Evelyn Mase crumbled under the weight of the struggle. He was often absent, consumed by the movement, hunted by the state. His children grew up with a father who was always away, always at risk. The fight for justice demanded a heavy price, a price he paid with pieces of his own life. By the early 1960s, Mandela faced a difficult truth. Peaceful protest alone was not enough. The government was not moved by morality. It was doubling down with violence. After much soul-searching, he and the ANC made a historic decision to create Umkhonto weSizwe, the Spear of the Nation, a secret armed wing focused on sabotage. Their targets were never people, only the machinery of oppression: power plants, communication lines, government infrastructure. Mandela went underground, traveling in disguise under the alias David Motsamai. He organized resistance in secret, while newspapers began calling him the Black Pimpernel for his ability to evade capture. But in 1962, the inevitable happened. He was arrested, first for inciting strikes and leaving the country illegally, and later for sabotage. In 1964, at the Rivonia trial, facing the possibility of death, Mandela delivered the speech that would echo across the world. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. This is an ideal for which I hope to live for and to see realized. But, if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. The courtroom fell silent, and in that silence, a man became a movement. What do we learn from Mandela's road to resistance? That true leadership is not born in comfort. It is forged in conflict. That courage is not loud or impulsive. It is steady, patient. It rises each day to do the hard thing, even when no one is watching. Mandela's journey from lawyer to revolutionary was not just a change in role. It was a transformation of spirit. He went from defending single clients to defending an entire nation's right to exist in dignity. And so we close this chapter with an invitation. Look at your own life. What injustice are you being called to confront? What truth do you carry that demands your voice? Leadership is not about titles. It is about action. In our next episode, Trial by Fire, the Rivonia case and Mandela's message to the world, we will dive deeper into the speech that inspired a planet and the prison years that tested his soul. If this story moved you, like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, because this journey is just beginning. And your voice, like Mandela's, might be the spark the world is waiting for. Stay strong, stay true, and never forget, resistance is not rage. It is responsibility.